Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Today we are taking some of the dirt out of this pallet bed and filling our blue buckets so that we can get some tomatoes and peppers planted. So we made this bed about 3 years ago out of pallets, and it held up considerably well until last year when we had a trellis on it growing cucumbers and our Kansas wind took it down along with this side. Now we could go ahead and fix it up, but we have more of these blue buckets and we want to just extend them down because we need to move them anyway from beside the driveway. So we're just going to use this soil and top off the blue buckets that we do have by the driveway and then get those moved in line with these other ones. And then we'll use the rest of the dirt later on for some other beds. So we originally had these blue buckets lining our driveway here on the west side, and the city told us that we needed to take down the pallet fence that we made around our garden because according to them it is not building material, even though for me it's wood, so I don't know why it wouldn't be. But anyway, we had to move the blue buckets to be able to take the fence down, and so we used them along back behind where the camera is set up. And we have more blue buckets over in front of where that laundry basket is, and those are the ones we're going to fill and top off and then move to where this planter used to be. We do have these 1-bys in these grow bags here that Bowen is going to fill up, and then the boys planted some flower seeds in those for their own little buckets. And then once we get the blue buckets filled, then we're going to move them. Now I understand that it would make more logical sense if we moved them and then filled them, because obviously the more dirt we have in them, the heavier they're going to be. However, that wasn't an option because we needed to get the dirt moved before we could then move the blue buckets. So I mentioned before we had some extra dirt, and we have this 2-by here on the east side of the garden that had sank down. He did have to be a little careful because I did have some basil and tomato plants already planted in there, but the for some reason the corners were the worst. And then this laundry basket, I originally planted strawberries in when we very first started the garden, and it did not work. It overgrew with weeds. It didn't water correctly. I should have had a watering uh, pole or something in the middle of it, but I've been planting like hyssop and stuff in there, and that's been working pretty well. So here you can see that I'm just trying to smooth out the ground. I do have a weed cloth that we put down 3 years ago underneath, and I'm just trying to get it all smoothed out since I do have mulch right there to make it a little bit easier to get the blue buckets to lay straight. So we did use our 2-wheel dolly and lifted it on that way. We started with the one that was on the north side of that pallet bed just to get it out of the way since it was in the walkway. There was one over by our trellis that we also needed to get moved, and then we started on the ones by the fence. I was really surprised how quickly this went. With the two of us working and using the dolly, it went by pretty quick. It maybe took us 10 minutes to get all of them in place, and then I was able to get started planting them with my peppers that decided they didn't want to grow past the initial leaves. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Vaughn was our little cheerleader the entire time, egging us on and giving us encouragement. He did wind up helping at the end hold some of the planters open that were cloth so that Bowen could go ahead and chop those off as well. We were so excited by this point because we only had that one left. And then Bowen decided that he wanted to try to move it on his own, and surprisingly enough, he was able to. I was really impressed. So these are grow bags I was talking about. We got these from Amazon, I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And since they're caving in around the top, I was just having Vaughn keep them open while Bowen filled them up. I did plant tomatoes and peppers in here as well. If you haven't noticed a theme yet, I'm planting lots of tomatoes and peppers this year. I planted at least one, obviously, in here. I think there was a couple that I actually wound up planting two. I'm hoping as long as I keep them pruned back well enough that we won't have any issues with rot. So I was finally able to get started planting out my pepper plants. I started all of my seeds in these trays as you saw in my seed starting video. And all of them worked out really well except for these peppers, and it seemed like they didn't want to get their true leaves on there. I went ahead and just planted them out as they were, and so far they worked out just fine. I think I might have lost two of them, which really wasn't that bad. I'm just planting them on opposite sides, two per bucket. Alright, and that's it for this video, guys. Please consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.